And a large crowd followed him and pressed in on him. Now there was a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years. She had endured much under many physicians and had spent all she had, and she was no better, but rather grew worse. She heard about Jesus and came up behind him in a crowd and touched his cloak, for she said, If I but touch his cloak, I will be made well. Immediately her hemorrhage stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. Immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said to him, You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, Who touched me? He looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.
Wow, that's really a powerful reading.
Yes, it speaks to us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Of women's welfare and the whole culture, which told women that they were really untouchables. Untouchables.
Unclean, and when they had blood flowing from them.
Yes.
And this wasn't her normal monthly cycle. This was something which was medical, but they would still see it as unclean. Yes.
And I rather like that she had been with physicians for years and had no, we can see some bells ringing around these issues. Yes. But a beautiful expression of her need and overcoming the fact that she knew she would make someone else unclean. She would make this prophet that she admired unclean if she touched him, but he wouldn't know.
He wouldn't know if she came up behind him and just leaned out and touched him.
Just touch a part of him, which is sort of that sort of healing from superstition. Oh, I've got a medal, or I've got something to touch. Whereas she thought she was just going to touch. What did he know? He did know.
Yes. He had the power, and so the power. He sensed somehow the need of the woman and cured her. Yes. And it's kind of like, I look at that and I read that and I think, have I got faith like that?
Yes.
And I don't know. Sometimes I feel as if I have, and other times I feel as if I've got not 1 ounce of her faith. You know.
How do you know that your need is so desperate that it will move others? Well, it will move others. Others in the community can be moved by your need.
Yes.
Their faith will reciprocate your faith.
I noticed that this is like from Mark's Gospel, and in Matthew's Gospel, the Gospel of the community, that ask and you shall receive is right embedded in the local community, and so it's not just ask from God, but it's let your needs be known to the local community.
Yes.
And in a way, this is what this woman did. She kind of reached out, and everyone was round, and then she came and said, well, it was me because I needed help.
Yes. And I felt I was cured. That was an amazing statement. She'd had it for 12 years, and in that flicker of time, she felt a complete healing. And he knew his healing had gone from him. You know, did he get a great shiver and think, what happened? But that's perhaps he could respond even though she hadn't made that direct approach, which is a beautiful thing to know of Jesus.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes we don't have to badger at him. We've only got to lean out and touch.
Lean and touch
and believe. Without saying that people, you know, I don't like hearing that somebody hasn't been cured because their faith isn't strong enough. I think that can be very disturbing for people because there are all sorts of
some of the
cures
answers,
and healths. And
some of the answers to faith are, we cannot cure you.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people are cured internally in their spirit, but not physically in their body.
And we're asking God to cure within the domain we live in. This is our culture, this is where we live. Is it possible to achieve a cure?
That's an excellent statement, asking God to cure within the domain in which we live.
Yes.
And I think that's real because we are an incarnated people. And Jesus was too. Jesus
Yes,
was fully
yes.
human as well as fully God.
We live in this
And,
culture.
Yeah.
Our expectations are that God will override perhaps
Yes.
some of the diseases we experience, but not all. We can't
No.
say, why hasn't God solved the problems of disease in the world, solved the problems of famine? We are the agents of our own salvation here, where we are.
And I was just thinking in relation to this too, I have a friend who is not Catholic. In fact, I don't believe she has any kind of faith. And she has cancer at present, and I go and sit with her sometimes, and I think, you know, we don't talk God because that's not within her orbit.
Yes.
But just the compassion and the sharing and the listening is what's helping her deal with what's happening to her body.
Yes.
You know?
And that's the healing of the mind, the healing of the emotions. Yes. And she got all of those.
She did,
She
didn't
felt
she?
cured.
Yeah.
She was cured physically, she felt cured. She would have gone out and she would have gone to the synagogue. She would have done all the things that a woman could now do.
And to say thank you.
She had been, we say, freed of that hemorrhage, but she had been put back into her society.
That's a good
Yes,
point too.
yes.
Yeah.
She had been given her place again.
Yeah.
Very nice, thank you, Jesus.
It's a good thing to reflect on for this week.
Yes, it is.